Hello, my name is Sam and I'm a health visitor, and we are here today to talk about childhood vaccinations or immunisations as you might know them. So being the parent or a carer of a young baby and a child is a really exciting time. It can be really overwhelming, and one of the things we want to do is make sure that you have the right support and the right access to information to help you make the right choices for your child. So I'm here with Kate and her little boy Jack, and she's also got little boy Alfie who's out playing, and we're here today to talk a little bit about immunisations. And what was your understanding on if was this something that you had to have done for your children, or something that you could make a choice?
I suppose I knew it was a choice, but it wasn't really one that I kind of thought about making. You know, I knew I didn't have to have them done, but it was kind of, it wasn't really a choice for me. It was just it was just something that you kind of get done for your children.
Hello, I'm here today with Claire, and we're here to talk about childhood vaccinations or immunisations.
As a mum, if I could give some advice on where you can find some information, I got huge amounts of information from my midwives and the consultants I was dealing with. I was very lucky to speak to lots of more experienced mums than myself, including members of my own family and close neighbours and friends. I wouldn't have gone on Google because there is so much out there that is completely false, confusing to be fair. Unless you're used to the scientific terminology, it can be really, really difficult to get your head around what is going on and what's not.
Okay, Kate, so is there any sort of questions you'd like to ask sort of for in the future, or for sort of friends or families about immunisations?
I suppose just really knowing kind of what's in the vaccinations, because you kind of go along and take the child to them and they have their injections, but actually knowing about what's in what they're actually getting would be good to get a bit more information.
That's a really, really good question. So one of the places that we would say is to turn to one of these booklets that can be found online as well, and there's a website on there, and that will tell you your choices, because in some of the vaccinations, for example, there may be some something from like pork as well, which might be in there, so you do have a choice if you wish to have MMR. There's two different sorts which are available, so you can choose which one you want based on the ingredients. So this is a good source of information, and making sure you access information that's just correct, and not go onto a website which might give you false information.
So what if my child or I is a vegetarian, a vegan, or has religious considerations?
We want as many carers and parents to have access to immunisations as possible. So we highly recommend looking at the link that we're going to add later on ingredients, and to bear in mind that some of the immunisations, such as the MMR, do contain pork gelatin, and they do an MMR without. So there are some choices out there for parents to make.
And can you have the immunisations if you have an egg allergy? Because I think some immunisations you can't, can you?
It's a little bit of a myth there that you can't. So even if you know that your child has an allergic reaction to egg, they can safely have the immunisation, because it is grown from chick cells, not from actual egg. So it is deemed safe and recommended to still have. So Claire, earlier we were talking about chickenpox and how in my local area there's lots of chickenpox in the nurseries, etc. And you told me that your child's immunised. Would you be able to tell us a bit about why you chose to do that and how you went about doing that?
So I happened to just be talking about it at school with some of my colleagues, and one of my friends mentioned that there was a chickenpox vaccine. I hadn't heard of it, I didn't know anything about it, and to be fair, I put it to the back of my mind, and it was only when I went for my flu jab at the pharmacy that I saw sort of the advert that they were doing it there. So I thought it was a really good idea, mainly because one of my friends didn't have chickenpox as a child and then got it when we were at university, and he suffered very badly, and whilst no long-term seriousness, it was not a great time for him to have got chickenpox, so I thought it was the best option for my son.
Okay. Have you got any further questions, Kate?
I suppose just about how safe the immunisations are. Are there any risks around having them?
Okay, so they are very safe. Lots and lots of research over the years, and it continues the research, which is why sometimes the methods change. They're always updating is really important. We know from research having vaccinations are one of the best things to do to protect your child from some childhood diseases out there. So one of the questions I'm asked quite frequently is it safe for my child to have lots in one go? They feel that they should be spread out a little bit more, but we know it's actually quite safe to have them all in one go, and children and babies are in contact with lots and lots of germs all the time, and their bodies are built to manage those, so that it's safe to have them all in one go.
So would I get in trouble if I didn't vaccinate my child, or would my child not be allowed to go to school if they didn't have vaccinations?
Okay, so no, you wouldn't get in trouble. It's parents and carers' choice to have their child immunised. What we would say is make sure you get the right information, and that you talk to your practice nurse or your GP or your health visitor. And if you change your mind at any point, you can always rebook and have these done. But no, you wouldn't get in trouble, and your child can still attend nurseries and schools.
So Sam, what if I chose not to have my sons vaccinated? What would happen?
Okay, so that's completely the parents' or carers' choice. Any time you wish to change your mind, you can go back to your GP practice and ask for that to restart. That's absolutely fine. So we would always recommend still talking to the practice nurse, even if you just have the appointment and not have the vaccination, so you can ask any further questions. But we would still highly recommend them at the moment. For further information or to answer your questions, I would suggest speaking to your practice nurse, your health visitor or your GP, or looking at the NHS website on vaccinations.